On our website, we quote from the UN Declaration of Human Rights, and I'm going to read this. Everyone has the right to education. Education shall be directed to the full development of the human personality and to the strengthening of respect for human rights and fundamental freedoms. So it's actually at the heart of everything that we treasure about society. And how teachers approach people with neurodivergent conditions like dyslexia is really important for the young person's development and their well-being and their ability to participate in society. And if you look around the world today, human rights, whether it's abortion or voting or whatever, is not a done deal. We should continually be vigilant and helping people to learn to read so that they're able to participate in that aspect of democracy is very important. Now, this is our first hybrid event. I'm incredibly indebted to Rosemary and Rachel and Mike and all the people at that end who are putting together this event, which is both face-to-face and online. Something I hadn't dared do just yet, but this is inspiring me to have a go. If Rosemary or I run into technical difficulties, please bear with us while we sort them out, but all seems to be going well at the moment. And now, very brief introduction. You could write an awful lot about Philip's career. Most of you will know him through the Ribble Valley Stanzas and the Clitheroe Writers Group, and that he is honorary president of Burnley and District Writers Circle. His love of reading and performance developed through life as an English and drama teacher, Lancashire head teacher, folk singer, actor, and multi-award-winning poet. If you're in the library service, you'll know that for some time he used to give sessions as Pip the Poet, providing hundreds of poetry days for schools and also adult learners. His poetry has appeared in many magazines and anthologies, as well as Gale Warnings, which we published. His previous poetry publications include The Raven's Diary, Couples, and His Usual Theft. Philip has won lots of poetry prizes, many more than me. In February this year, he won first prize in the East Riding Poetry Competition, and in 2019, he held 4 first prizes concurrently, an amazing thought. The National Arts Centre Jack Climo, the Horridge Writers, the Sandwich Kent Poet of the Year, and the Barn Owl Trust. And I think that shows the breadth of his engagement with society and writing. He's going to read from his pamphlet, talk about dyslexia and his own experiences. And after that, Rosemary will ask you to unmute and we will have a Q&A. Thank you very much. Looking forward to hearing from you. Over to Philip.
Thank you, Camilla. Camilla, great support today as a poet. Thanks for being here today in style. Well, my schooling was in a distant galaxy, far, far away, down south. So you won't know any of my teachers. Or maybe you sorts of will. Okay, I'm going to put you to the test. I'm going to try to put you in the position of being dyslexic as a child. So it's a bit of fun, hopefully. What does that say? Oh, think about it. I'm sure you know the answer. We did this last week as well. And it's quite fairly straightforward. You don't mind me saying so? Come on. Otherwise, there'll be trouble. What does it say? It says shall. Oh dear. Well, if you're hiding your talent, you're intelligent. You're hiding your talent away. It may be time for Mr. Swish, because I don't like devious children who hide their talents. I know you're intelligent. So, what's it say? Don't hide it. Well, I'm going to have to tell you, aren't I? Welcome. Welcome. So welcome everybody. Put that away now. Okay. So that was the end of stage 1 of my schooling. Stage 2 of the ancient regime was this. You had to wear that because you were hiding your talent away. So stage 3 of my ancient regime teaching pupil career was go and sit at the back. And that could last for years, because the following year the teacher will be told Burton is to be sat at the back, because Burton will not take any part. Because Burton is intelligent, but he's pretending he's not. So that was the regime. Dr. Ellen Rayner, the scientific reviewer of these dyslexic poems, writes that the first poem is definitely one which will evoke knowing nods from anyone with dyslexia. So if I see anybody nodding, I'll know you're dyslexic. Or maybe if you nod off, I'll know you had a good night last night. I'll be watching it. The first bird of dyslexia. Morning has broken, said the hymn, like the first morning. And for me, was unreadable, even when pounded out with heavy hammers. Morning has broken. Teacher would perform the trick of lifting a sound and a sherbet lemon from a high shelf. More, he would say, cracking the sweet with his teeth. Now you, ning, he would say. Now you. Each bit spoke for itself, I was told. He showed his tongue and sweet fragments. Morning has broken. A spine-touching nosedive of sound, scattering hanks of itself on the road outside. Blackbird has spoken like the first bird, okay, but my spoke had a missing bicycle. Nothing screamed from the page, even when scratched by an adult fingernail. More couldn't talk. Ning had no bell. I couldn't conceive of them leaping through eyes into the brain and out of the throat. I hosted a dream of shapes and ciphers that whispered, sneezed, clanged and blared, but none of them had any name, or if they did, constantly broke again, like the first morning. When told I was lazy or dull, springing fresh from the word, I perched my face on the loops and ascenders of the wrought iron gate of the school, till morning mended. Head of the river, page 4. Seated near the Bowland Brook, teased by runes of wrinkled shade, I was in class again, counted as one to whom no regard was best given. Dyslexic, we'd say now, shiftless then. Nibs always bent, lots ruled okay, because I could not write, my heart hurt, my backside too. What saved me at school were the high windows, square kites, steadfast blue visited by white. I understood Kent's river Stour, sailed my mind's eye along it each day, from Westmarsh to Durnock. If only they'd asked me to read aloud its cordovan banks, hump neck bridges, slow cursive bends. Paper words, second nature to my peers, were rivers too, oxbow islands, inlets with no landing stage. A game not peculiar to cat and mouse, page 29.
Yeah. Can see him.
Cat kicking to mouse was pulling the wool again is not acceptable. I'd expect a better score from a vegetable. No one gets naught on 10. A chimp could do more. Use the memory store between your sideburns, Burton. Okay, I'm going to write them down for you. Cat, mouse. If you get them wrong in test 3, you will be the mouse consumed by the cat, which will be me. The only word I could read or write aged 11 was the word oxo. It's true. And there's what's a poem in the book. I won't tell you what page. From two teachers talking after a spelling test, page 26. Found poem. If Burton were more live, he could take up limbo dancing, where a low mark wins the prize. Now, in woodwork, in secondary school, I don't know which way around. Oh, come on. It's a bit naughty, isn't it? Do we have any WI people? Okay. In woodwork, Mr. Ash saw everything in terms of wood. He'd been a prisoner of war in Japan. Mr. Ash carried a doctor's note granting him permission to smoke during woodwork lessons. For his nurse. My abiding image is of a skeletal figure, trembling slightly, chain smoking up to his knees in flammable wood shavings. He'd been in a lot more dangerous situations and met worse things than illiteracy. Comfort of us all, for a struggling reader, in a world where comfort was hard to find. Incredibly, the chemistry teacher would pop in the storeroom full of explosive chemicals for a quick fact. There was only an occasional large explosion. Woodwork. Spelling tests don't cut much wood. I'll not castigate your spelling. I'm more a spoken man myself. Happy if you're telling plank from batten, board from scantling. Timber speaks for itself. Scent and feel, feel and scent. Mahogany beading, beechwood down. I think I shall never see a thing as beautiful as this wood shaving. Man was a poet in wood. But we had two woodwork teachers, Mr. Wood and Mr. Woodward. Sounds very unlikely, doesn't it? It's true. Mr. Woodward would say, carve a name for yourself. Book words, page 17, by the way. Page 17. Book words can resemble ghosts or be like pressed flowers. Memorials to meadows lost down drains and under houses. Although print has much to teach us, letter shapes demand a solid base, as when the characters are carved from blocks of linden wood, not pared down to petty stains, all too flimsy on the page, for anything but a passing glance from one who strains to read. Words spring from throat and hands, clay and wedge, chisel and mallet. Hold that thought, feel the power in your fingers and palms. Didn't help me read, but helped me survive, I think. Yeah. I made a breakthrough into literacy at age 12, brought about in surprising ways, thanks to creative and thoughtful teachers. Which brings me to one particular chemistry lesson, page 22. Chemistry lessons, because of their abbreviations, H for hydrogen and so on, helped me. I achieved a good grade, A level, and studied chemistry at Edinburgh. It enabled me to what Dr. Ellin calls crack the code of writing. Oxygen, age 11 in a chemistry lesson. Try again, try again, try again, try again. What have I just said? Spell oxygen, not ogzogen. Words are long grass. Teacher stands, I crawl. My nose impeded by stems. She breathes from a different place to me. Not oxygen, but oxygen. Not oxygen, but oxygen. Not oxygen, but oxygen. Reading is like breathing, she says, but through your little eyes. She mimes, threads the needle, lean and silver. I pretend to take it, stitch the long grass flat, try see what she sees on the warm horizon. I overhear her say to staff, "He's a little open star with his diamond cascade of wildly glittering gases." My brain, the tail of a comet. I go around on a regular basis, but more than this, I secretly please her. She can't understand me well enough to tell me straight. Chemistry is plain sailing though, oxygen being O. Time to visit the metalwork teacher, who, as Dr. Ellen Rayner, my scientific reviewer, says, sensed that the poet's problem was dyslexia and helped him remember the technical words, which he did. Each practical subject area had its own list of words and the motivation to learn them. It went something like this: know the word soldering before we let you do any soldering. This triggered something competitive in me. Words were still very difficult, but they began to stick. Soldering on. Page 18. He was not a teacher, or so he claimed, more a welder, solderer of concepts. Metal's my first, fixer's my surname. He sensed my dyslexia was to blame. Vocabulary is what my flux wets. He was not a teacher, or so he claimed, but made words stick onto the brain like silver solder, glue, or brass rivets. Metal is my first, fixer is my surname. We'd carry a list of technical names, us kids. Pointing at one, he'd say, he was not a teacher, or so he claimed. But workshop words would jump alive. We did them. They became precepts. Metal is my first, fixer is my surname. It's what I do, here and now. Ends are made to meet with perfect success. He was not a teacher, or so he claimed. Metal's my first, fixer's my surname. Well, I progressed, either building a word inwards from first and last letters, or as in history with Miss Stedman, or learning words from vocabulary lists, as in metalwork. But my misspellings, I mean, they didn't go away, and psychologically I needed them corrected, but with understanding that I was doing my best. I cried out for support and found that the best teachers for me were the ones with a total love of this subject, rather than misspelling. Miss Callis got us to write about the Bible, write out the Bible. We have to write out the Bible. Well, that's what it felt like, anyway. Miss Callis, page 28. My handwriting shrank in religion to an almost flat earthquake trace. I pretend I could read each atom, but in truth, I'd memorized a ton of stuff whispered across by the guy next to me. This was keen to have me read what I'd written. Yes, miss, I can do that, miss, I lied. She took time to arrange herself to listen. I parroted off Genesis chapter 1 by heart. She sighed. Clever child, see you in detention. Not Miss Callis, but some teachers would send you to the head teacher to be caned if they thought you were pretending to get words wrong, especially if you were intelligent. It was assumed you were lazy and devious, and the punishment was a stroke of the cane. Years later, I was walking past the garden of my old head teacher. I happened to glance at his runner beams, which were supported by some bamboo sticks. One of the canes was familiar. It was the cane he used to cane kids with. Put to better use. This was 1982, when you remember there was to be no more corporal punishment in school. So what had he done? Taken his cane, used it for reused, and that's what we say now, he reused it very well. So I wrote this ode on a garden cane. Page 27. Hold hard, my fine, unfussy bamboo son, you clever stick, with such remembered feel. Reveal how come that somehow it's arisen, you have the tensile strength to rival steel. No timber, concrete brick of kilned earth is uncrushable as you, but now a glowing garden sun. You're not the mighty God to whom I bowed at school, my shirt-tail show, and took the swish I knew would burn, a rebel badge of honour 1 inch broad. Of late, you prop an old boy's runner beam. As patient as an empty gun you wait, the roulette spin of social ways and means to send you flicking back to castigate backside, hand and mind, to crudely cap some child's bravura go at having fun. Shadows cower back Birch Lane, the tender stems of love to kingdom come. Instead, the leather belt, the horse, the cat, paddle, slipper, strap are back again. Fevered imagination haven't come back, has it? So far. Researchers find something unexpected. The first and last letters of a word are usually correctly remembered by the dyslexic writer. And the first teacher that I knew who recognized this and helped me with it was Miss Elizabeth Stedman. So, in a short form, page 21. She was quick to praise the way I knew the first and last letters of a name, such as William the Conqueror. She gave me carte blanche to put the Crow. Nothing wrong at all. Nothing wrong at all. I try on a hat. I can't see my head. I can't drive a car, but can work the doors. I can lick Seaside Rock, of course, without reading the peppermint word Blackpool locked inside. History was a breeze after that for me. I could bookend the kings, G1, G2, G3, and label the explorers, David Livingstone, Dudley, and Scott of the Antarctic, and Miss Ted would always decode it. I worked inwards from there. You're a true historian. You've hit on a system. Her lessons gave kids a history. We carried tools with us, looking for the mystery of what used to be there. Who cycled on that ancient bike, that iron skeleton before it tagged a fishing line? She said, I could write a brief history of the world. Another teacher who inspired me was Mr. Carr, the physics teacher. Mr. Carr was not worried by spelling the way some others were. He seemed worse than a missing L in the scribble of war. Spell away, I won't be telling you off if physics has a K. I'm less than bothered, as long as you nibble the core of Archimedes' principle and start revealing an overflow of zeal, the odd bright guess, an arcing independence of mind. Eureka! Dr. Carr didn't comment about my spelling. He would simply hand a list of physics words and they'd say, try to memorize these, and left it at that. He was both tolerant and guiding and effective, at least in my case. Although science trained at Edinburgh University and then at Dulles Manchester, I started off my career as a teacher on the arts side and became head of English and drama at middle school. Perhaps thanks to Miss Wright, who, as Ellen says, had a unique way in the gym of teaching children to spell. Page 20, tableaux a go-go. In 1961, Miss Wright, our young teacher, came back from Juan Le Pen, having been to the nightclub Whiskey a Go-Go, one of the first disco dancing places, and had seen how children struggling with spelling might be helped. The essence of her method was to play Otis Redding's Sitting on the Dock of the Bay. She'd call out, "Bring the gin!" And we squat with backs to the wall bars, eager, alert. "Go!" she would yell, and we'd scramble to make the G and the O without tangles or unwieldy limbs. "Come on, let us go to town. Hit the deck dancing, then freeze your position flat on the floor." As will Torval and Dean at the end of Valera, 33 years on. Head to tail, like literate sardines, we'd blow, lay and listen to Otis or Elvis, proud to know we could spell at least the one word, go. When calm came, we'd take turns to climb and read ourselves. We'd made an isochime, a line on a map, first laid down in Juan Le Pen. Great to be sitting when the evening comes, body full of words, echoes of sea and sounds. There are probably as many routes into literacy as there are dyslexic people. For me, it was joined up writing, or cursive writing, taught to us age 12. Contact. page 33. Promise this will be the last poem. It's just an extract from Contact. When joint writing arrived on the syllabus, the snakes uncoiled from my legs. I leapt from the chair of forgetfulness. Cursive script freed me to wiggle, flow, engage with the sky, safe in my roller coaster cart, strapped in, alert, vivified, at last, a main support structure, smooth as the meaning of words, dropped into place. The benefits of cursive writing, particularly for students with dyslexia, have been noted for several years. I think it gives words a unity, a flow, an attractive and memorable shape. Who knows? But it works. Well, I'll end with one deliberate note of strangulation by underfunding and red tape, and one hopeful note of quiet elation and ultimate escape. How's that? Which would you like first, the good news or the bad news? Well, I'll say this, okay. While literacy is a major, no, I'll say what Dr. Ellen Rayner says, because she says, technologies are growing and developing which support students with dyslexia to learn with ease in school and without the struggle that has marked their self-esteem and memories so negatively. And I'll just quote Barack Obama, invest in education and your children will succeed.